And start by finding a comfortable sitting position. It could be that you're sitting on a book or a pillow or blanket or whatever it is that works. And after you find the seat, take a moment here just to get the wiggles out. Perhaps there are some needs to just calibrate where the center of our spine is, forward, back, side. And paying extra attention towards your neck. Noticing if there's any tension from the side, the front, the back. Once you find that center spot, or wherever you perceive as the center, take a moment here especially when you're doing perhaps home practices. It's often our mind is still attached to something else that's happening. My mind is still attached to the baby I have outside, the food, the ambience of this house, and the momentum that I was just sitting on my butt and doing not much. But try to carve this time out to arrive and be here. Perhaps you'll take a few deep breaths in and out through the nose. Maybe even exhaling with a sigh. These are all just suggestions just to capture information from our body. When you're ready, placing your hands onto your thighs and soften your forehead. Inviting your awareness to the space between the eyebrows. Perhaps just start with noticing if it's tense. Is there any wrinkles that you perceive? What does it feel like on the surface, the skin? And can you invite your mind to feel deeper, broader, through the whole, across your brow bones, the forehead? Feeling the muscles just behind the skin of your eyebrows. Maybe even inviting your mind deeper to the front of your skull, to the space just behind the front of your eyebrows, your forehead. And imagine this being a physical space, a physical chamber. Noticing what it feels like here. What is the tangible texture, the size, the shape. And exploring the edges of this space. Are they soft? Are they murky? Or are they quite rigid, quite obvious, where it stops and started? And sensing what it feels like inside of this space in three-dimensional. And as you begin to breathe, imagine this breath entering through the space between the eyebrows and starting to occupy that space. We're feeling it filled with air, maybe seeing, visualizing the air moving And as you breathe out, allow the breath to leave through the same spot, through the space between the eyebrows. Noticing as you imagine to breathe like this, does that make any difference? Does that manifest in any physical way that you can perceive? Perhaps you feel tingles, perhaps this space feels motion. And begin to experiment with bringing more breath into this space. It's almost like we're inflating a balloon. Letting the breath to press and expand towards the edges of this space. So as you breathe deeper, the space of your mind becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Allowing the inhales and exhale to enter and leave through the same spot, that spot just between your eyebrows. Maybe even imagining this breath to broaden it further into the size of your brain. Into the size of your head. And broaden it even more beyond the size of your head. Taking into the space of the room you're in right now. Perhaps even allowing the space to go beyond the building, the room you're in. And feel the borders starting to soften and expand until the space feels vast and spacious and without a very hard limit. And experimenting with how it feels in this space, softly turning your head. Doesn't matter which side, what direction, what shape. We are just collecting information. This is just about tuning, calibrating. And turning your head in any shape and form and frequency that feels good. So maybe it's side, maybe it's up, maybe it's circle, maybe it's something else completely that I didn't mention. And every time you feel like you're losing contact with that space of your mind, pause, slow down. Let your breath arrive there first. And proceed in a slow motion. And it's almost as if those animals that we see in a documentary, see them moving slowly. You can see every fraction of the second as things are moving, evolving. And begin to deepen this movement into also your whole spine, your back. Once again, this is not so much instruction, this is an invitation to explore. So maybe you're about moving from side to side, maybe it's forward and back. Maybe for you it's more a cat-cow movement. can be as soft or as hard, as big or small as it feels inviting to do, as compelling to do. And play with the angles perhaps you don't normally do. If there's any hints of comfort that feels nice as you move, go deeper perhaps, just playing with the depth of it. And using this movement to slowly explore towards coming forward, coming onto your hand, shifting the weight from your feet, your hips. It can be either your hands or your elbows, forearms. Allow yourself to explore more towards the all fours, like the tabletop position. And just because I have named a position, a pose that we know, doesn't mean you have to be there straight away. Doesn't mean that it has to look exactly like how you remember it to be. Often we break the spell of being in the body when we name positions. We have bring our mind to external to, so now I look like this, instead of feeling your way into this shape, or towards, or around, or evolving that shape. If you have other callings within the body that is requiring you to move in a certain way, in a certain form, go ahead, do that. You're on your very own freedom and space and practice. I am just here to make suggestions. Perhaps you'll even play with feeling your hips expanding the front of your body, just noticing, collect information. How does that feel? Maybe you're playing with the opposite, having your hips so far back, your chest so close to the thigh. Maybe you feel that it'll be nice to just drop and rest and do nothing, and do just that. And from where you are, an invitation to explore towards lifting the knees. It can be both, it can be one at a time. Exploring towards lifting the hips, lifting your chest, and finding some kind of shape that's around, that's evolving, that's feeling towards a downward facing dog. And if you are in your shape, your adaptation of a downward facing dog, play with placing your weight back onto your heels, lifting your toes, feeling where you feel this. We perhaps have been sitting quite a bit these days, a lot of being home. Things are starting to stagnate, feel stuck and stiff and uncomfortable. Play with moving the weight forward to your hands. And play with walking your hands a little bit further back so you're halfway to your feet. If you need to bend the knees, soften. Push into your fingers and lift
lift the back of your butt super high. It feels like your sits bone is lifting away from the heels. And imagine the fibers in the back of your kneecaps going to spread outwards to your sits bone. And at the same time spreading downwards towards the floor, so you're really broadening the back of your legs. And you feel that perhaps this opening coming a lot in your back leg. Maybe play with even spreading the knee more, straightening more, drop the belly and looking forward, just a touch. And playing with the opposite, pressing in your fingers round the spine, looking down. Reaching your belly hard, fingers, your armpits long, lift the tail forward perhaps. And this time as we round, keep your heels closed and press down the floor. Begin to walk your hands a little further forward. Press your heels super heavy, the back of your knees straight. As you walk, perhaps you'll notice the opening coming into the back of the calf muscles, the back leg. And we play with moving between the two, walking your hands closer, lift the hips, maybe soften the knee, looking forward, the opening coming in the front body. Noticing the difference as you press your hands further down, your armpits broaden more. And opposite, rounding the spine, knees straight, heels down as you walk, open the back of the calf again. And do just one more like that. And softly lower your knees towards the floor. If you have sensitive knees, put your blanket, pillow underneath the knee. I have a little tool here. And step your right foot between the hands. And walking your foot so it comes between the hands and you're stacking it right underneath your knee. I don't like these type of instructions. Come onto the tip of your fingers, press your foot and lift your chest, your throat, your nose and your chin up. Maybe noticing a sensation of broadening in the front of your left leg, the left thigh. If this is happy, stay, or this time bring your hands inner side of the foot, walk the foot to the edge of the mat. Find a place where it allows your whole foot to press down, no tilting outwards, inwards. Press in to the base of your big toe. Lengthen your spine, maybe even just very lightly. Let your hips sinking, reaching forward, and keep your left knee stable. Maybe noticing a slightly different feeling of opening in your front hips. If this is a good place, stay. You feel plenty in your front thigh. Or you can work with coming up, pressing your hand onto your right thigh. Lift, press. So your stomach is no longer pressing and wedging in the front of your right leg. We're still trying to find that opening in your left thigh. And I like to even grab my hand to very lightly spin my outer leg downwards. That helps me find that opening a little bit better. If you're one of those lucky people like me, you have tools you can use. Maybe it's a dictionary, maybe you have blocks, perhaps it's a pot. And we'll find this block underneath your right hip. Stacking it so that it won't fall. So you can really lean backwards. So instead of letting your stomach draw forward, so the opening coming into your lower back, lift your stomach in and up. It feels like you're trying to point your sit bone down. It feels like your left butt cheek has to engage just a touch. As you arrive, work on relaxing your shoulders, your jaws, your face. And reconnect towards the space between your eyebrows again. As you inhale the breath entering into that space. And exhale through that space. Inhale the breath through. And exhale through that space. Noticing if there is any position you can switch in your neck to allow it to be more comfortable. Perhaps turning the head. Perhaps leaning back with your whole skull. Playing with stacking this weight in a different collaboration, a different setting, configuration. And just taking just the last few breaths here. Maybe even just very lightly lift your elbow, armpit, roll your arms back off the chest. And trying to find your opposite fingers and reach back. And to come out, releasing your hands. Very carefully lower your hands down in the side of the right foot. Remove anything blocks if you have them. With your hands on the floor, without lifting your hips, wiggle your front foot back behind you, letting your stomach, your chest, your neck and your face fall. Perhaps you have your forehead on the back of your hands, maybe looking to one side. And just a little front body opening. Bring your hands in the outside of the mat quite far down towards your waist. Press your palms, lift your chest, lift the front of your body just to experiment. What does that feel like? Maybe you even draw your stomach, lifting the front of your belly button in and up, your chin up. And sometimes it feels nice to just have a little turn and twist as you're lifting, bending in your spine. And slowly experiment yourself back down. And from here, bring your left arm straight and forward, rolling to lie on your left side body. Your bottom leg is either straight behind your hips in a straight line or slightly forward. And your top leg, flex the foot and bring it just a little bit behind you. And just to complete the circus, lift your right arm and reaching it away. Maybe placing it behind your head, your chin down just lightly. You're quite rested here. You can feel your way into a bit more activity, maybe bringing your hip forward a touch, stretching your top leg back more. Maybe playing with stretching your right arm even further. Just feeling where, what, how does that feel? For a lot of us, you'll feel something around your hips, maybe just in the side of your cross of their pelvis. Maybe for you it's further in your waist. Maybe it's more in your legs or your side, ribs, armpit, or maybe the upper arm. It's perfectly normal. Just the last few breaths right here.
And releasing your arms forward, rolling on your stomach first. And using the laziest way you can to press and zombie your way onto your hands and your knees.
And take your time if and when you're ready. Moving your left foot forward. We'll start with foot between the hands. Adjusting the position of your left foot so your heel is stacking underneath the knee. Perhaps it's also not just forward and back, but in and out, left and right. Letting your hips sink and lift your chest, stomach, your chin, your face away from the floor. Just to track. And switching hands between or inner side of the foot, walking this foot out. If this feels plenty, you're great, stay. Or, once again, lifting high up, either hands free onto the thigh or your left sits bone onto any support that you can find. And your hips are not quite even. We never use the body quite exactly the same from one side to the other. So perhaps you need to adjust how high this block is. This is too high for me. Just to starting to feel the right side of your leg. And once again, a little spin. Your outer leg, spin it downwards if that works, if that helps you. Maybe leaning back with your whole upper body. Options to stay or bring your hands armpit up and back as you find that heart puffing. Maybe even finding your fingers to reach down and back behind you. When things start to get a little warm, a little spicy, think about the breath down through your forehead and out through the forehead again. When you're ready, releasing your hands, dropping fingers on the inner side of that foot, removing any obstacles, keeping your hips low so we're not aggregating that place that we were opening before, and walk and wiggle this left foot back behind you. Enjoy the moment. Capturing information, any sensation of flush, warm, cold, any manifestation of emotions. Maybe you're angry, scared. This time, reaching your arms far forward, your forehead on the floor. You pull your hands against the floor as you pull your arms, shoulders back, lifting your chest, your heart And as you pull, imagine you're literally pulling your whole arm down towards your buttock, pulling the floor towards your stomach, noticing where you feel this in the spine, the back. And keep this as you lower your elbows down. In the engagement you have just now, that sensation of pulling down, keep about 20-30% of it. And feel your stomach, the front body will drop and soften just a touch more. We'll check with the head turning. How does that feel in the neck? And try not to move the tension from one side of your body towards somewhere else. Holding your face, your jaws. Can you soften your cheek? Maybe even let go of your bottom jaw. So your tongue, your palate can rest just a touch further. Noticing as you breathe, your body just shifts and moves and waves just lightly. And this breath feels a lot like the water just rushing and rocking the boat of our body. The rise and fall, the feeling of a rock and floating. If this feels fine, stay. Options to bend the knees. Options to press into your hands, lifting the elbows off of the ground, noticing the difference between dropping your ribs, stomach completely, versus if you look down, draw your stomach ribs in. Before you slowly relax your shoulders, looking forward. Just a last breath here. And gently as you can, releasing your stomach, your chest, shoulders, your neck, your face, and your feet, your legs back down. And if you're ready, your right arm reaching forward as you roll and lie on your right side. Your top leg behind you, bottom leg either vertical or slightly further forward. Once again, flex your top foot. Left arm reaching up high and maintain the feeling of lift as you lengthen. Maybe finding your opposite hand. Playing with the angle of your left leg, playing with how far back or forward your hips, and what does that feel like for you, your unique body. Releasing your top arm down, slowly rolling yourself back on your stomach, looking forward, side, and rest. If you're ready, when you're ready, making your way up and finding the sitting position. And I like to do this against the wall. You don't have to, but it does feel more supported, easier. So find a pillow blanket by the edge of the wall and sitting your back against the wall. And stretch your legs long. I'm just gonna start with one side, bending your right knee, point your toes, and you're gonna bring it as far left and next to your hips as you can. And you're trying to pull this knee far towards the left side. Maybe you'll begin to feel there was something on the outer hip. And grab, making sure you have pillows, a lot of support. This can feel very powerful. Now press your left leg, bottom leg down. Imagine you're pushing the ground away from you. Lengthen through the spine as you breathe in. Reach your heart towards your toes. As you breathe out, coming forward. As you find that spot where you go, I can feel this. Begin to soften your spine. Relax your neck and drop the head. And very often dropping your head completely without support as a free fall can feel quite intense. And that's when you go, okay, I'm gonna be nice to myself and I'm going to choose not to go too deep. So perhaps the books, stacks of dictionaries, blocks, whatever it is underneath your hands, little lift. If you're higher up than I am, you're welcome to stay just tall. The only rule of thumb is we're trying to find an opening that's going from the bottom of your back leg all the way through the back. Sometimes you feel more in the back hip, sometimes you feel more in your back, sometimes you feel more in the leg, and that's normal, just variations. But you're choosing to go to about 70-80%, not 100. For example, I know I'm quite stiff these days, so perhaps I'm just going to keep my hand here supporting my skull so I can fully allow myself to soften. The only place that's still activating is your bottom leg pressing down just a touch. And as you inhale this time, imagine this breath broadening into your back body. Feeling the back of your spine, the skin of your back broaden, make space. And as you breathe out, draw your navel in, the front stomach into the spine. The breath broaden the back body, letting it rise, broaden, spacious. And your front body in, stomach in as you breathe out. Noticing when and if your body opens up to let you go in further. Not to intrude on the invitation to go too far. You have about 1 more minute, just the last 5 long breaths here.
And to come out, use your arms, press your elbows, press your hands downwards, lifting yourself up,
Keeping the cross in your legs, lean back against the wall, or just lean back into space. Add a little side bend. Bring whatever support you have, pillow, block, books, next to your right hip. Placing your elbow on top of it. Bending at the elbow, this hand is gonna grab the back of your head. Oops. Then your opposite arm, left arm, lifting up, and reaching over, letting it rest on top of your head. If this proved to be too much, bend the elbows so your hand is touching either side of your head instead. Noticing what you feel about this. Noticing when you want to fidget, want to move, want to escape. And asking yourself if this is truly so uncomfortable that you need to run, or is it because we're getting a little bit bored of just being here? And can you allow the mind to anchor towards the breathing? So we are sitting in the feeling of wanting to run away, wanting to escape. And we're sitting here for another 5 long breaths here. And to come out, release your left arm down in front of you. Use that hand to press the floor. And find your way back into the center. Release your legs long. And take a moment here just to feel where before we move to the opposite side, bending the left knee this time. Pointing the toes and really grab this leg, moving to the outside of your right hip. And I even like to grab hold of my calf muscle and just very lightly turn and lift it away so I can really get this leg down. Press your right leg against the floor and lengthen the spine as you breathe in. Reaching your spine forward to test how far before you're finding any level of support around the back. And testing with the idea of dropping your skull completely. Noticing where the initial sensation is. How does that feel? What kind of texture, flavor? Maybe it feels a little stiff, like nougat candy, or maybe it feels sour, like it's lemony. And taste and feel all that.
And still keeping your bottom leg just a touch heavy and touch active, pressing downwards. Once again, taking your breath, imagine it seeping underneath the skin of your back, broadening, lifting the balloon of your back body. Your stomach in as you breathe out each time. Your breath broadening into your back body as you breathe in. Your stomach in. Face soft. Forehead soft as you breathe out. We're about halfway there, just about 8 long, deep breaths here. When you're ready to come back out, use your hands pressed down. You're really easing your way into the sitting position. Easing back, kneeling for a second.
And this time, the block on your left side of the hip, lowering the elbow, grabbing hold of your head. And your opposite arm up, reaching long, feel the armpit side body as you rest the arm on top of your head. Sometimes your left and right side body are not quite the same. So the depth of how far you go are also perhaps different. And the lower your blocks, your elbows are, the stronger you're going to feel the side body. Come up, releasing the top arm down to the floor. Use your hands, press down, so your arm is the one that's pressing you upwards. And sitting tall, releasing the legs. If you are happy where you are, I invite you to lie down, find a Shavasana, a few minutes. If you want to move a little bit more, I invite you to join me on the active part of this class.